Hey YouTube, Elite Legionarii here, bringing you a 1 vs 1 siege battle for Medieval 2 Total War. The host here is the Ziffer. He wanted to attack, so I'm on defense. And this is an interesting castle because this is the only entrance point, and that's not that common. Usually there's like another gateway, and it would generally be about here on this kind of map. But this is just a one entrance castle, so it's got to go this way if he wants to get in. So we'll have a look at his army first. He had 30k because he was on the attack, so he got 10k more than me. I only got 20k, so he's got more upgraded troops. So here's his general and his general bodyguard unit. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 armed swordsmen there, and he's got 6, 7, 8, 9. I think he's got 10 armoured swordsmen, 4 heavy billmen. He's got an English knight out there, and he's got 3 culverins for his artillery to break the walls in, and 3 retinue longbowmen. So my force consists of 4 units of dismounted Byzantine lancers. I have a general's bodyguard. I have 2 units of Vardariti, which are missile cav. I'm going to send them out immediately to start harassing. On the walls up here I have 4 units of Byzantine guard archers. Now you may want to take note of where I've deployed them. I've put them between these towers because this part of the wall cannot be knocked down. Up here it also can't be knocked down, and he cannot knock these parts down either. So they're safely up on the walls where they can still use the full range of the advantages the wall has, and none of his cannons can knock those parts of the walls down. So you want to do that. I might just pause while I get the rest of my army. I have over here 2 units of Varangian Guard. These are going to be held to the very end for shock units later on. And in this square here I have 6 units of dismounted Latincom. These are my strongest infantry units, and a catapult, so that when he approaches, if he gets in, there'll be plenty of big chunks of fiery doom coming down on them basically. So that's my force now. However, I'm going to get extremely aggressive with my Vardariti here. Now these guys are a horse arch unit, but they are actually quite good at melee fighting as well. They're definitely one of the best horse arch units in the game. The only thing that's probably better would be the Mongol heavy archer actually that I can think of. These guys are extremely good. So what I'm going to do is I've sent guys 2 ways. So if he focuses cav on one direction, I will look for opportunities to get into his culverins, because if he loses them he really has to go in through the gate, so that's not what he wants. So I've come up here to the high ground so I get a good downhill charge, and because I'm using a missile cav, his heavy cav cannot catch me. And here I see an opening into one of his cannons, so I'm going to charge it. So here's a nice shot of that, and that will more or less route that. But however, I don't want to stay in that too long because his other cav will catch, so I'm going to pull out of that. So if we look, he lost that gun basically. He's only got 2 men left in it, and that's not enough to use it. So here's shooting my walls here though, but what I'm going to try and do is get rid of the other 2 before he can actually make a breach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this one distract this cav here, and I'm going to charge at these billmen. So these are 55 billmen there, heavy billmen in this unit, and I get a nice rear charge going downhill. And this is with a missile cav, bear in mind, and I still took out 15 men in one charge, and that is not even they don't even have a lance, and he lost 16 men to a charge from a horse archer unit. So there he shoots my gate in, so that's his only way in at the moment. So here I get his other culverin, although I'm probably going to get it stuck with that unit, but I think I do manage to pull it out in time. Now I see some of his retinue longbowmen completely undefended here, so I'm going to hit them, and I want to see how much damage I can do to them in that charge. And even then, look at that, that unit just went down to 20 from 60. He just lost like 40 men, or 39 men in one charge, just from horse archers. So horse archers can still do quite a bit of damage if you use them like this. So this is what I like to do, and what I'm trying to emphasise here is you can ruin the sieges and attackers. Just because you're on the defence doesn't mean you can't attack. That's basically what I'm saying. You know, you go real offensive, really aggressive in your battle style, and you can effectively cause a lot of damage. I've taken out pretty much all his artillery units, a whole unit of archers, half a unit of heavy infantry, just with 2 horse archer units, and most of that's from charging and not from missile fire. And he can't stop me because they're too fast. Well, I do make a bit of a blunder here and I stopped managing it, so that was my fault though. So I took skirmish mode off because I want control them manually. So here's another opening to his culverins here, and he's not protecting them. He's become very spread out, and as he's approaching, he's now in range of my missile units too. So here's a good downhill charge, and I'm going to get rid of this last cannon unit, put an end to his artillery completely. So as he's sitting here, he's getting peppered by my guard archers up on the walls, and like I said, there are positions in certain castles that are and just parts of the walls that are indestructible to cannon fire or whatever, any artillery against. These parts here that have got these kind of things, the central bit above the gate, these side bits and stuff, he can't hit them. I mean, he could hit these towers if he wanted to, but he cannot hit my archers. So they can remain safely on these walls and cause as much damage as they want. As you can see, they're already causing loads to his infantry. And they can do as much damage as they want, and he cannot stop them. And he has to go in through the main gate here, and I can defend it at my leisure. Now he does rout one of my battery tie at last. The other one though will continue to run harassment, but basically 2 units of horse archers destroyed his whole battle plan, basically, and trashed a crap load of his units. So the point I'm trying to make here is sometimes you can take your opponent by surprise, and it also, for an attacker, it's not always a bad idea to have some towers and some backup stuff in case someone does this to you, because now that his cannons are gone, he's only got 1 route in, and it's the worst route he could possibly take. So he played exactly into the way I wanted him to go. I wanted him to do this, and I've been able to implement this on him. And he's also much too close to the walls with a lot of his guys here, and they're taking tower fire, missile fire, and they're going to lose a lot of men. Now, interestingly enough, they didn't do boiling oil. I thought it would have, but I guess not. But it doesn't really matter. So I've decided to leave 3 of my units of dismounted Byzantine lances here, and I've left 2 of them, another one right behind them in reserve. And in a moment I'll move my general. I'll move my general right in here. I'm just going to use him to rally to continually bolster their morale, so I don't have to send in any others. And I've still got 6 complete reserves of extremely strong infantry in the city, and 2 Varangian guards as well. And he's constantly going to be under missile fire until I'm out of ammunition. And as you can see, he is losing a great deal of troops to missile fire. And this is basically because he has to go in the way I want him to go. So let's get some close-ups here, guys. And dismounted Byzantine lances are not as good as armoured swordsmen, but I rather like them because you can put right up to gold defence upgrades on them, which you can't do with pretty much any other infantry in medieval 2. It can only go as far as bronze, so they're very handy. They're kind of an all-round unit, and I like to use them and mix them with Latincon. So I just think they look cool. I just like their outfits, basically. I just like the Byzantine Empire full stop. But bear in mind that if you look at his guys and all these mini flags, he's got a lot more mini flags than I do, because he had 10,000 extra to 10,000 followings more than I did. Because a lot of players do that. The defender gets less money than the attacker if it's an even game, or if it's an uneven game, he'll get a little more, because if it, like, by uneven I mean like it's just 2 attacking him and he's on his own. So, you know, like something like that. But in this case it was 1 versus 1, so I got 10,000 less because I had the defence, basically. But as you can see, my Byzantine Lance is doing a fantastic job because he can't get his numbers down. Ordinarily, otherwise he would win, in a one-up fight the armoured swordsman would win. But he lost a lot of men to missile fire. The morale is much worse because he's lost so many troops from the start there. And I'm going to leave a defensive position there though. And I right now want to say I was thankful to my opponent, because he, I can understand wanting to just admit defeat because he's in a pretty crap situation, but he stayed and fought, and I'm thankful for that. So here he pulls out. I'm trying to get me to follow him, so I go out, then he can defeat me out there. Now initially my troops, because they're still locked on, will follow, but I won't let them do that because I don't want them to do that. You don't want to do that. Stay inside your defence, basically, guys. Is he defending? Don't let that happen. So he brought his retinue longbowmen up. Now he's, I think, because of his situation, he's starting to make mistakes. These guys should be in loose formation and stretched out very long so they don't take many casualties. They're getting creamed. So retinue longbowmen are better than Byzantine guard archers. Both are extremely good bowmen, but his are better, but this is not what you want to do with him. You should have them in loose formation and stretched very long, because there's no threat that I'd go after him. I mean, if there had been a secondary gate over here, I probably would have sent my general out and started running harassment on him, but I can't do that. So now he sends his billmen in, and billmen are not really that great. I only use them just for a bit of a fun unit to use, a difference. They're not that great though. They're pretty good, but where you want to use billmen is if you can catch enemy cavalry units sitting still, and they're quite good there. But against other heavy infantry, no, they're not that great. Especially not like sword and shield infantry. Like a couple of maybe some other two-handed units, they'd be okay. Because like the other two-handed units, they have that glitch I keep talking about. So, you know, and I mean, my Varangian Guard is just susceptible to it. But the idea here is when these guys get tired enough, because they will get tired, because they've been fighting a lot, I'll charge him with the Varangian Guard when his morale is at its lowest. So at that point, Varangian Guard's charge should actually rout them. So he's also much too close to the gates here. These towers can constantly pepper him with fire as well. And he should be in loose formation to avoid the damage there. So he is making mistakes, but he's probably making mistakes because he realises he's already lost. But I said to him, you know, because you guys have got more upgrades, you might be able to push through to try and get him to stay. But this is what you want to do, guys. By getting rid of his cannons, he can't go any other way but this. And he can't. And this is what I've talked about in other sieges. He becomes clumped up. So a lot of these units are just going to be sitting in the back doing nothing, and I'll be able to take them out one by one because I'll be able to amass them onto one at a time. Whereas he's still clumped up and only his front units can fight, whereas all mine can fight. So that's why sometimes getting a couple of horse archers or some light cav, some heavy cav if you want to do it. I advise some tough light cav because they're very fast, they can outrun heavy cav and they can still absolutely trash a lot of other stuff. I mean, those were just missile horse archers, they weren't even light cav. Well, they were, but they didn't have a lance, they only had a sword, and I still did as much damage as I did. So my advice is, guys, get aggressive on your sieges if you can. Don't do it recklessly. Only do it if you can. Some people, you know, when I play, I always bring some other cav of my own or whatever to, you know, when I'm attacking, just to be sure, because sometimes you can get defenders who are really aggressive and will go out in the offence, and you can be caught by surprise because you're thinking they're defending, they're not going to do that, and it does happen. It does happen. So my advice to you is, at least if you're attacking, at least have a couple of cav there, preferably maybe a light cav even, just so you can keep up with any enemy cav, and use your missiles to support, and keep your artillery pieces protected from them, because like this guy didn't, and it cost him bad because now he couldn't get the breaches in the walls he wanted. So now you can see his guys are actually winning because my guys are just so exhausted. Bear in mind there's only been 4 units of dismounted Byzantine lances going up against about probably 13 infantry units there. So in a moment I will bring my Varangian Guard in to do the charge. I'm waiting for, if you look at his guys here, it's saying shaken. If you look at that, most of them say shaken, and they're exhausted. Whereas you look at my guys, although a lot of them are exhausted, it still says eager because things are in my favour. So what I'm going to do in a moment is bring my Varangian Guard in when there's enough of a gap available, and I'm just going to do a flat out charge. And it's the charge the shock of that charge that will probably break them if they're shaken, and that's the thinking. So out here, I've destroyed his archers basically. I was targeting his general a bit, but they're so well armoured they can just sit there and take it. So that didn't work the greatest. But as you can see, I had brought up 3 Latin Con for extra defence, and I still had these 3 turning here and the catapult if he'd gotten in. So I was well and truly in control of this fight. But that was mostly because, as I said, I got rid of his... Basically, if you destroy your opponent's weapons, you know, like his artillery and stuff like that, and you effectively destroy his strategy, then he just really can't do anything about it. And just this is the best he could do with it. So, you know, the idea is to go after the enemy's most valuable units right at the start and try and, you know, do as much damage as possible because it works very effectively. So that's another piece I would tell you guys if you're into Medieval 2 sieging, you know. Some of you are real defensive players and that's fine. That's totally fine. defence works well in given situations. It's better than attack, and sometimes attack's better than defence. I prefer to go on the attack, seize the initiative. It's more my style. But I don't deny the power of defence, and I will use defence in situations where it would just be more appropriate. But this time round, I saw I could go on the attack, and I did. And I was pretty pleased with the results. They were pretty excellent results. And if you want a unit that's really good at doing what I just did here, play as the Moors and get the camel gunners, because they can sit back well out of range and literally just devastate enemy units with those muskets they use. And they're generally fast enough to get back to the city walls in time. But don't let them get caught in melee fighting, because they're not that good at that. So as you can see, my guys are getting pretty tired now, and he is breaking through. But I'm getting him to be exhausted. A lot of his guys are wavering even and shaken and exhausted at this stage, and that's why I'm going to send my Varangian Guard in any moment now. I'll charge my Varangian Guard in, and you watch what will start to happen to this whole cluster when they come in. It's because of a huge... Whoops, sorry about that guys, camera did a bit of a flick there. It's the huge charge damage from Varangian Guard, or any two-handed unit, but Varangian Guard are probably one of the best two-handed units in the game, if not the best. Although I'd probably say the Forlorn Hope of the Holy Roman Empire is probably actually more lethal, because it's only a half-sized unit, but it's extremely strong. So here come the Varangian Guard now. And you watch, one of them's already started to break there, but once the Varangian Guard arrive, 2, 3, 4, and look at that, when the Varangian Guard arrived, the entire horde just routed. Now that wasn't because of any particularly massive impact by the Varangian Guard, it's like impact they had on the fight, it's just their charge, and the fact that more added to the fight.
Men are winning the battle and forging a worthy victory.
So they're going to get completely thrashed, and at this stage he had missed defeat. And I mean, I'm really thankful to my opponent though for staying, because he really, at that stage he had no real chance to win, but he still stayed, and it's still an honourable thing to do when you play. He stayed even though it was complete write-off for him. And that's good sportsmanship. So, guys, that's what I like to see. It's frustrating being in a situation. I have been in situations like that, and believe me, you just think, oh, I want to leave, I want to quit. But it's better to stay, because it's just better sportsmanship. And sometimes, I wouldn't always say I was the most, sometimes I can get pretty frustrated, and then, but usually afterwards I think about it, I think, it's just a game, so, but it can be very frustrating. So if we look at the stats here, my dismounted Byzantine Lancers all got pretty high levels of kills. Took quite a few losses, but bear in mind, armoured swordsmen are a lot better than dismounted Byzantine Lancers. Because I had such a good defensive position, it meant a lot. The Varangian Guard, as you can see, actually got no kills at all, but the fact that they were added to the fight with their charge caused that final rout. Now if we look at the Byzantine Guard archers, pretty good kills there, 78, 100, and look at the another one down here got 35. The Vardaritai, 84 and 90, and 27, 14. I mean, they did get pretty much destroyed, but they won the fight. Just those two horse archers ruined his whole battle plan, because I was able to take out all his artillery, ruin quite a lot of his archers, and dismantle some of his infantry. And they were horse archers, so you can do this with, I advise, if you're playing as a good faction to play it would be Poland or Hungary or Venice, because they have some hugely excellent light cav. Venice with the Stratiots, Poland, Hungary with Hussars. Those guys, a Hussar, and Hussar's got a full lance, and it can take out 40 men, 50 men, one charge if you get a good charge on even a most heavy infantry unit. It's only a light cav, so it's still exceptionally fast, and a lot of other enemy heavy cav won't be able to catch it, but it can still deliver a lethal amount of damage. So sometimes it's not a bad idea to try some different things like that when you're defending, because you can catch your opponent off guard, just like I did this time. So great game to the Ziffer. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope there's some helpful tips in there, and I'll see you soon for some more Medieval 2 Total War action.